It's Eid in Gaza, but the end of the fasting period brings little joy amidst the devastation.
How is Eid coming for us? With unfairness, destruction and without a ceasefire.
While in Australia, the Foreign Minister is looking for a circuit breaker.
I don't see, ultimately, any security for Israel without the issue of Palestinian statehood being resolved.
Australia wants two nations, Israel and Palestine, to coexist side by side, but negotiations between the two are going nowhere. Now the government's contemplating a shift, signalling it might be open to recognising Palestine as a state before any settlement is reached.
There are those who always claim recognition is rewarding an enemy. This is wrong.
There's no decision yet, and the Foreign Minister is making it clear Australia will not take this step while Hamas remains entrenched in Gaza.
It was more a trial balloon being floated, I think, which is kind of the Foreign Minister's style.
But against a backdrop of violence, every subtle shift brings close scrutiny.
It sends the wrong type of signal to terrorists that you can get outcomes from the type of horrific actions that were undertaken on October 7.
The Palestinians, for their part, have reacted to every offer of peace with violence. That's why we have an absence of peace and a two-state solution.
Palestinian advocates say recognition is merely the first step that Australia must take.
It's time for Australia to treat Israel in the way we treat other rogue nations like North Korea and Russia. Sanctions, recalling our ambassador, etc.
While in Gaza, the prospects for peace remain remote.
We will complete the elimination of the Hamas battalions, including in Rafah. There is no force in the world that will stop us.
If Australia were to recognise Palestine, it wouldn't be alone. Around 140 nations, including most of the global south, already do. But at the moment, almost no Western democracies are in that club. And if countries like Australia and the United Kingdom were to shift, then it would leave Israel more isolated. Exactly how that would play out on the ground, either now or well into the future, is much harder to predict. Stephen Dziedzic, ABC News, Canberra.
Australia has long supported a two-state solution, but why is the government now flagging the prospect of recognising a Palestinian state before borders are negotiated with Israel? Here's the ABC's national political lead, David Spears.
Australia reacted carefully back in February when British Foreign Secretary David Cameron first canvassed the possibility of recognising a Palestinian state without Israel's support. Now Penny Wong has nudged Australia's position forward, echoing her British counterpart and framing this as being in Israel's best interests. Even floating the idea demonstrates Australia's willingness to take a tougher line with the Netanyahu government, particularly after last week's airstrike that killed Australian Zomi Frankham. It also reflects the growing international pressure for Israel to change course and intensified efforts behind the scenes to find a lasting peace. No decision has yet been taken, and there are preconditions for any Australian move to recognise a Palestinian state. Hamas must release all hostages, and the listed terrorist organisation can play no role in the future of Gaza. Exactly how the government thinks Hamas should be removed, though, is unclear. Some in Labor acknowledge there's domestic politics at play here. The government is trying to fend off a push from the pro-Palestinian Greens in a handful of electorates. And on the other side, the Liberal Party sees any recognition of a Palestinian state right now as downright dangerous. The partisan split over this war only widens.